Hey, you know what time it is? Woo! Get into it! Get into it! Yes! We are back, baby. The energy is back. I'm feeling good. It took a little bit out of me, but it's okay. It feels good to laugh. It feels good to laugh. Hi, y'all. Welcome to Storytime with Chris. Like I always say, you do not have to watch these videos when they go live. You're more than welcome to watch them in your downtime, leisurely time, in between time, nap time, snack time, back to relax and chillaxing time. It's my favorite day of the week, Wednesday. I've always loved Wednesdays. No, not for the reason that you're thinking. And no, not for the giant camel that walks around going, hump day. Hey, Mark, you know what day it is? You know what day it is? Hump day. Get over the hump. No. I love Wednesdays because I was born on a Wednesday, and ever since I was a child, I can't tell you why, and I'm not trying to dig any deeper as to why. Just accept it as a gift from the universe. Something good always happens to me on Wednesdays when I least expect it. I could catch up with an old friend, or do a good project, or discover something new, or achieve a goal at the gym, or find a new book. It could be a whole bunch of different things. And typically those who are connected to me, something good happens on Wednesdays. I do have friends, unfortunately, that are going through a painful period right now. And children, when you see this video, I would caution you to do this. If you have a friend, a real friend, not even just a passing acquaintance, a real friend who's going through a rough time, or is just having a bad day, or is experiencing pain, the best thing you can do is be receptive, listen, be present, and comfort at the level that they are comfortable with. Give them comfort at a level that they are comfortable with. So my thoughts and prayers and love to my friends that are having a bit of a rough day today. I love you. I truly do love you. And I hope your day and the rest of your week, the rest of this month, gets better for you. So I just wanted to say that. I think it's good to acknowledge that. I do it here on Storytime. There's plenty of times where I've had really good days, and there are days where I have really bad days, but they're rare and few and far in between. And the reason why that is because I have a lot of friends and family that shower me with love. I just made my tea, so it's a little hot. But not to belabor the point, but we'll go ahead and get started. And no, I do not own the music that you are listening to in the background. Mr. Ambiance, check them out. They do amazing ambient music, seriously. All right, we are back, and somebody just popped out of the shadows in the forest as Ilanwi, Gurgi, Fluder, and Taran were trying to pull the Cauldron out of the river. Is it the river Idris? No, the forest of Idris. They were at the river of Tevin. There we go. Chapter 17. The Choice. It was Eladir. With Islamak following, he strode to the riverbank. Dry mud caked his tawny hair and grimed his face. His cheeks and hands had been cruelly slashed. His blood-stained jacket was half ripped from his shoulders, and he wore no cloak. Dark-ringed, his eyes glittered feverishly. Eladir halted before the speechless companions, threw back his head, and glanced scornfully at them. "Well met," he said in a hoarse voice. "Brave company of scarecrows." His lips drew back in a taut, bitter grin. "The pig boy, the scullery maid. I did not see the dreamer." "What do you here?" Taran cried, facing him angrily. You dare speak of Adion? He is slain and lies beneath his burial mound. You have betrayed us, son of Penlarkar. Where were you when the huntsman set upon us? When another sword would have turned the balance? The price was Adion's life, a better man than you shall ever be. Eladir did not respond, but moved stiffly past Taran and squatted down near the pile of saddlebags. Give me food, he said sharply. Roots and rainwater have been my meat and drink.
Evil traitor! Shouted Gurgi, leaping to his feet. There are no crunchings and munchings for wicked villain, no, no.
Hold your tongue, said Eladir, or you shall hold your head. Give him food as he asks, Taran ordered. Muttering furiously, Gurgi obeyed and opened the wallet.
And just because we're feeding you, cried Eilonwy, don't think you're welcome to it.
The scullery maid is not pleased to see me, said Eladir. She shows temper. Can't say I really blame her, rejoined Fluter, and I don't see that you should expect anything else. You've done us a bad turn. Would you have had us hold a festival? The harp scraper is still with you at least, Eladir said, seizing the food from Gurgi, but I see he is a bird with the wing down. Birds again, murmured the bard with a shudder. Shall I never be allowed to forget Ordu? Why do you seek us? Taran demanded. You were content to leave us once. What brings you here now? Seek you? Eladir laughed harshly. Ha! I seek the marshes of Morva.
Well, you're a long way from them, Eilonwy cried, but if you're in a hurry to get there, as I hope you are, I'll be glad to give you directions. And while you're there, I suggest you find Ordu, Orwin, and Orgok. They'll be happier to see you than we are.
Eladir wolfed down his food and settled himself against the saddlebags. That is better, he said. Now there's a bit more life in me.
Enough to take you wherever you happen to be going, snapped Eilonwy.
And wherever you happen to be going, replied Eladir, I wish you the joy of your journey. You shall find huntsmen enough to satisfy you. What? Cried Taran. Are the huntsmen still abroad? Yes, pig boy, Eladir answered. All Anuvan is astir. The huntsmen and I have outrun a noble game of hare and hounds. The Gwithates have had their sport of me, he added with a contemptuous laugh. No, it cost them 2 of their number, but enough remain to offer you good hunting if that is your pleasure.
I hope you didn't lead them to us,
Eilonwy began. I led them nowhere, said Eladir, least of all to you, since I did not know you were here. When the Gwithates and I parted company, I assure you I gave little heed to the path I chose.
You can still choose your path, said Eilonwy, so long as it leads you from us. And I hope you follow it as swiftly as you did when you sneaked away.
Sneaked away? Ha 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 ha! Laughed Eladir. A son of Penlarkar does not sneak. You are too slow-footed for me. There were matters of urgency to attend to. Your own glory, Taran replied sharply. You thought of nothing else. At least, Eladir, speak the truth. It is true enough I meant to go to the marshes of Morva, Eladir said with a bitter smile. And true enough, I did not find them, though I should, had the huntsman not barred my way. From the scullery maid's words, Eladir went on, I gather you've been to Morva. Taran nodded. Yes, we have been there. Now we return to Caer Dallben. Eladir laughed again. And you too have failed. But since your journey was the longer, I ask you which of us wasted more of his labor and pains. Failed? Cried Taran. We did not fail. The cauldron is ours. There it is, he added, pointing past the riverbank to the black hump of the Corkshan. Eladir sprang to his feet and looked across the water. How then? He shouted wrathfully. Have you cheated me once more? His face darkened with rage. Do I risk my life again so that a pig boy may rob me of my prize? His eyes were frenzied, and he made to seize Taran by the throat. Taran struck away his hand. I have never cheated you, son of Penlarkar, he cried. Your prize? Risk your life? We have lost life and shed blood for this cauldron. Yes, a heavy price has been paid, heavier than you know, Prince of Penlarkar. Eladir seemed to strangle on his rage. He stood without moving, his face working and twitching, but he soon forced himself to seem again cold and haughty, though his hands still trembled. "So, pig boy," he said in a low, rasping voice, "you have found the cauldron after all. Yet indeed it would seem to belong more to the river than to you, who but a pig boy would leave it stranded thus. Did you not have wits enough or strength enough to smash it, that you must bear it with you?" "The Cauldron cannot be destroyed unless a man give up his life to it," answered Tarn. "We have wits enough to know it must be put safely in Dalbin's hands." "Would you be a hero, pig boy?" asked Eladir. "Why do you not climb into it yourself? Surely you are bold enough, or are you a coward at heart when the test is put upon you?" Tarn disregarded Eladir's taunt. "We need your help," he said urgently. "Our strength fails us. Help us bring the Cauldron to Caer Dallben, or at least aid us to move it to the riverbank." "Help you?" Eladir threw back his head and laughed wildly. "Help you, so that a pig boy may strut before Gwydion and boast of his deeds, and a prince of Pinlarcar play the curl? No, you shall have no help from me. I warned you to take your own part. Do it now, pig boy." Eilonwy screamed and pointed to the sky. "Gwythates!" A flight of 3 Gwythates soared high above the trees, racing with the wind-driven clouds. The gigantic birds sped closer. Tarn and Eilonwy caught a fluter between them and stumbled into the bushes. Gurgi, almost witless with fear, pulled on the horses' bridles, leading them to the safety of the trees, while Eladir followed. The Gwythates swooped downward, the wind rattling in their flashing feathers. That is what's called a turn of events, kids. With harsh and fearsome shrieking, the Gwythates circled around the cauldron, blotting out the sun with their black wings. One of the ferocious birds came to rest on the Cauldron, and for an instant remained poised there, beating its wings. The Gwythates made no attempt to attack the companions, but circled once again, then drove skyward. They veered north, and the mountains quickly hid them. Pale and shaking, Tarn stepped from the bushes. "They found what they were seeking," he said. "Arorn will soon know the Cauldron waits to be plucked from our hands." He turned to Eladir. "Help us," he asked again. "I beg you, we dare not lose a moment." Eladir shrugged and strode down the riverbank into the shallows, where he looked closely at the half-sunken Cauldron. "It can be moved," he said when he returned, "but not by you, pig boy. You will need the strength of Islomach, added to your own steeds, and you will need mine." "Lend us your strength, then," Tarn repleaded. "Let us raise the Cauldron and be gone from here before more of Arorn's servants reach it." "Perhaps I shall. Perhaps I shall not," answered Eladir with a strange look in his eyes. "Did you pay a price to gain the Cauldron? Very well, you shall pay another one. Hear me, pig boy," he went on. "If I help you bear the Cauldron to Caer Dallben, it shall be on my own conditions."
"There's no time for conditions," cried Eilonwy. "We don't want to listen to your conditions, Eladir. We'll find our own way to get the Cauldron out, or we'll stay here with it, and one of us can go back and bring Gwydion."
"Stay here and be slain," Eladir replied. "No, it must be done now, and done as I say or not at all." He turned to Tarn. "These are my conditions," he said. "The Cauldron is mine, and you shall be under my command. It is I who found it, not you, pig boy. It is I who fought for it and won it, so you shall say to Gwydion and the others, and you shall all swear the most binding oath."
"No, we shall not!" cried Eilonwy. "You ask us to lie, so that you may steal the Cauldron and steal our own efforts with it. You are mad, Eladir."
"Not mad, scullery maid," said Eladir, his eyes blazing, "but weary to my death. Do you hear me? All my life have I been forced into the second rank. I have been put aside, slighted. Honor? It has been denied me at every turn, but this time I shall not let the prize slip from my fingers." "Adion saw a black beast on your shoulders," Tarn said quietly, "and I too have seen it. I see it now, Eladir." "I care nothing for your black beast," shouted Eladir. "I care for my honor." "Do you think," Taran said. I care nothing for mine?
What is the honor of a pig boy, laughed Eladir, compared to the honor of a prince?
I have paid for my honor, answered Taran, his voice rising, more dearly than you would pay for yours. Do you ask me now to cast it away?
You, pig boy, dare reproach me for seeking glory, said Eladir, yet you yourself cling to it with your dirty hands. I shall not tarry here. My terms or nothing. Make your choice.
Taran stood silent. Eilonwy seized Eladir by the jacket.
How dare you ask such a price?
Eladir drew away. Let the pig boy decide. It is up to him whether he will pay it.
If I swear this, Taran said, turning to the companions, you must swear along with me. Once given, I will not break an oath, and it will be even more to my shame if I broke this one. Before I can decide, I must know whether you too will bind yourselves. On this, we must all agree.
First of all, kids, don't ever take a lie for anybody.
Not in the manner of which it's done here. This person is trying to lie to put themselves in a better position of perspective, to make themselves look good. Don't ever lie for somebody like that. Lying is bad. I'm not promoting lying and deceptiveness. But as we know in these stories of adventure and fantasy, and even some science fiction, telling a lie to protect one's life can be helpful, but obviously that wouldn't be anybody's first choice. I want to make that very clear. No one spoke. At length, Fluter murmured, I put the decision in your hands and abide by what you do. Gurgi nodded his head solemnly.
I shall not lie, Eilonwy cried. Not for this traitor and deserter.
It is not for him, Taran said quietly, but for the sake of our quest.
It isn't right,
Eilonwy began, tears starting in her eyes. We do not speak of rightness, Taran answered. We speak of a task to be finished. Eilonwy looked away.
Fluter has said the choice is yours, she murmured at last. I must say the same.
For a long moment, Taran did not speak. All the anguish he had felt when Adion's brooch had left his hands returned to him, and he recalled Eilonwy's words in his blackest despair, the girl's voice telling him that nothing could take away what he had done. Yet this was the very price Eladir demanded. Taran bowed his head. The cauldron, Eladir, is yours, he said slowly. We are at your command, and all things shall be as you say. Thus we swear. Heavy-hearted and silent, the companions followed Eladir's orders and once again lashed ropes around the sunken cauldron. Eladir hitched the 3 horses side by side, then attached the lines to them. While Fluter held the bridles with his uninjured hand, the companions waded into the shallows. Eladir, standing up to his knees in the rushing water, commanded Taran, Eilonwy, and Gurgi to post themselves on either side of the cauldron and keep it from slipping back against the boulders. He signaled an order to the waiting bard, then bent to his own task. As he had done with Melalas before, Eladir thrust his shoulders as far below the cauldron as the rocks allowed. His body tensed, the veins rose to bursting on his streaming forehead. Still, the cauldron did not yield. Beside him, Taran and Eilonwy heaved vainly at the sling. Gasping for breath, Eladir turned once more to the cauldron. The sling creaked against the boulders, the ropes strained. Eladir's shoulders were cut and bleeding, his face deathly white. He choked out another command to the companions. His muscles trembled in a final effort. With a cry, he pitched forward into the water, stumbling to gain his balance. Then he gave an exultant shout. The cauldron had lifted free. Desperately, the companions labored to bring the cauldron to shore. Eladir seized one end of the sling and thrust ahead. The cauldron skidded to dry, firm ground. On the riverbank, they quickly roped the sling between Melalas and Luagor. Eladir hitched up Islamak as the leading horse to guide the others to bear a share of the weight. Until then, Eladir's eyes had burned with triumph, but now his face changed. My cauldron has been won back from the river, he said with a curious glance at Taran, but I think perhaps I was too hasty. You met my terms too quickly, he added. Tell me, what is in your mind, pig boy? Rage filled him again. I know well enough! Once more you would try to cheat me! You have my oath,
Taran began. What is the oath of a pig boy? Eladir said. You gave it, you will break it.
Speak for yourself, Iladwe said angrily. That's what you would do, Prince of Pinlockar, but we are not like you.
The cauldron needed all of us to raise it, Eladir continued, lowering his voice. But does it now need all of us to carry it? A few would serve, he added. Yes, only a few. Perhaps only one if he were strong enough. Was my price too low? He went on, spinning around to face Taran. Eladir, Taran cried, you are truly mad. Yes, laughed Eladir. Mad to believe your word alone. The price must be silence, utter silence. His hand moved to his sword. Yes, pig boy, I knew in time we should have to face one another. He lunged forward, his sword out and raised. Before Taran could draw his own blade, Eladir swung viciously and pressed to the attack. Taran stumbled down the riverbank and leaped to a boulder, feverishly grasping for his weapon. Eladir strode into the water while the companions raced to stop him. As Eladir swung his blade again, Taran lost his footing and toppled from the boulder. He tried to rise, but the stone slipped from under him, and he stumbled backward. He drew up his hands. The current was clutching at him, and he fell. The sharp edge of a rock loomed up, and he knew no more. And that is where we will end for tonight. There is an old phrase that the mothers in my church would always say. The love of money is the root of all evil. Greed. Greed, meaning you want any and everything to yourself. Selfishness, avarice. I love that word, avarice. Avarice, it's a very fancy way of saying being greedy. Wanting more. But, as we all know, for those who are like that, nothing good is waiting for that type of person. I'll see you all next time. I love you. Be good to yourselves. Bye-bye.